Welcome back to Truth Bomber TV. We're talking about ego today and how it can be the big orchestrator of our own suffering so that we can end some of our lifelong loving relationships with ego and jump into happiness. It is definitely either a beast or your best friend. So the ego is the only thing that stands in our way of being happy. And it also makes us blind in a lot of ways. So we project all the time. And when we get emotionally worked up about the qualities in someone else, it's often that we have those qualities, but we can't see, accept, or acknowledge them. These are called triggers when you start doing self work. So if you are happen to be people watching or you go somewhere in a social situation, pay attention to what bothers your significant other and other people and see if it's actually things that they are guilty of. And once you can start identifying it in other people, because it's much easier to do in other people than it is ourselves, then you can start looking at yourself and breaking yourself down and seeing where what you actually get all worked up about people is usually something you do that you can't accept about yourself or you don't want to see, and so you avoid it. And that's how emotions and negative emotions are so important in doing self work, because a lot of times the emotions are actually the key. Like, why am I having this big response to this personality type? So it's also critical to see our faults so that we can be unconditionally loving. If we can't see how we're guilty of the same things, then we can't be humble, we feel above people, and we just stay in this wheel of getting triggered. Another thing that can happen is if this isn't actually a quality we have, it's actually the matching opposing quality, and we need to balance ourselves. So if that personality type bothers you and it's not the quality that you have, it's something you need to balance. So hypercritical people will really bother people who are hypercritical of themselves in their own inner voice, or people who lie, period, just to take advantage of others, will bother people who lie, but they're lying in order to not hurt people. Both liars at the core, but one party is lying in order to not hurt someone's feelings, and the other party is lying in order to take advantage or even hurt someone's feelings. So if there's an opposing quality going on there that needs to be balanced, then those opposite mirrors will happen and make each other crazy. So, another issue with the ego is it likes to victimize, blame other people, and does not want to accept responsibility for its own journey. So, it wants to look outside of yourself and say, this is so and so's fault. That's this person's fault. They did this to me. When our egos are just looking to avoid doing self work. So we just get lost in this land of blaming everything on everyone else. Oh, the government's against me. Oh, so and so's against me. Oh, I never really had a strong parent foundation. Oh, whatever it is, the stars, the moon is not lined up right. This gets in our way of really being able to do self work, because all of a sudden you've given someone else power over your happiness and they are failing you. And until you decide to take control and jump into your own personal power and decide to step over the ego's desire to lead you into that wheel, then you're just stuck in that cycle and it's not going to go anywhere. Another thing that the ego likes to do is compare itself to others. So the comparative mind can be such a trap because someone has more money than we do, or someone's more beautiful than we are, or someone's more handsome than we are. It wants to rate ourselves against everybody all the time. And if you don't see this part of your mind and take control of it, it will lead you around and around. And I love social media because You can see it happening all the time. Oh, look, they're going on vacation. Well, you're working, or however it happens to work out to be. It compares itself to everyone else. They got to do something I didn't get to do, or they have a better life than I do, or however it wants to jump into your own personal thoughts and start wreaking havoc. So, seeing all these elements is critical to self development, but if it's left on overdrive, it's a vicious layer of happiness. And that's why self work and working on ourselves is the only key to harmony and bliss and peace. And I put this up here where we have these two entities at war within ourselves, the ego and the soul. And these inner wars is what creates like the matching outer wars. So these different ways that our egos wants to separate from each other, blame each other, feel resentful of someone else who got more than you did, or complain about other people rather than work on your own faults, weaknesses, and personal battles, being jealous of one another, angry, materialistic, past or future oriented. If you cannot just be in the now, this is a very hard one for a lot of people, and it was for me for a long time. Just being in the now rather than worrying about the future or worrying about what's happened. Self denial, living up to being this or being that. So the ego is such a strong player in our own happiness and our own bliss and our own peace and working on ourselves, that once you really get control of it and you start working through these elements, it's a very powerful place to be, and you are a much happier person, and it pulls you out of making judgments, which judgments always create karma, and it makes you in control of your life rather than everyone else. So the only way for us to step up to the next evolution is for everyone to get control of their egos. We have to have an ego. Otherwise, we would have no drive to better ourselves. We would just all want to lay on the couch being unconditional love, peace, and happiness. We need this inner drive in order to become the best possible version of our higher selves. But when it's out of control and you don't know how to reel it in, that's when the suffering occurs. So you can check me out. I've got an online course at www.narcissistnirvana.com. And I believe we're in the apocalypse of time of enlightenment and working through our own inner issues as being reflected through our relationships with others. So, hope you have a great Wednesday. Thanks for watching.